My name's Matthew Peddie. I'm a radio reporter for WMFE FM in Orlando, but you know, people say I don't have a face for radio, if you know what I mean. So I'm from New Zealand. That's not New Zealand, that's Australia. Where's New Zealand? Sometimes we get left off the map. Yeah, that's New Zealand. But you know what? I wasn't born in New Zealand, I was born in Canada. But you know, then we moved back to New Zealand when I was only 6 months old. And I spent most of my childhood in New Zealand, but actually then we moved to the United Kingdom. Lived in England for 2 years and then moved back to New Zealand. And then I lived in Japan for 2 years. And oh yeah, that's where I met my wife. So she's from Orlando, but her parents are Indian. Oh, and I forgot to say, I studied in Canada. Yeah, that's right, I lived in Canada for 1.5 years. Then we moved to Orlando and we got married in Orlando. Then we moved back to New Zealand. And actually that's where we had our first daughter, who was the only genuine Kiwi in the family. And we moved back to Orlando. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. You know, I grew up in the South Island of New Zealand. It's a very beautiful country. We would go for hiking trips in the weekends, skiing trips in the wintertime, have beautiful unspoiled beaches on our doorstep, camping and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like an outdoor paradise. Now, the food culture of New Zealand, I mean, it's kind of comfort food. I'm going to show you a little bit of New Zealand's classic cuisine. I'm going to make a pavlova. Now, this is a New Zealand dessert that I learned how to make quite a long time ago, but it's something I really love to make with my family. Put this apron on because I don't want to mess up my nice all black shirt, the national rugby team of New Zealand. It's actually quite simple. I'm going to take some eggs, take about 4 of these. Ooh. I'm going to put the egg white into the bowl there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is start adding my sugar. Okay, I'll sprinkle this in little by little to get them into a nice kind of foamy consistency. So ideally, this will turn into a delicious meringue. All right, so that is ready to go in the oven. I'm going to slide it right in. And that's it. And in about an hour's time, we should have a delicious pavlova coming out of this oven, hopefully. You know, even though we speak English in New Zealand, we actually call things by different names and words you probably wouldn't hear in the United States. So for example, lolly is what you guys would call candy. Jandals, which are commonly known as flip-flops. Togs, I guess you would call that a bathing suit here. And a chili bin is probably something you wouldn't have heard before. That is what Americans call a cooler. Also, a Kiwi can be 3 things. Can be a person or a citizen of New Zealand. It can also be a Kiwi fruit, or it could be a bird as well, which is actually, oh look, there's a Kiwi right there. You take a look at that. Okay. Oh, here we go, here's one here. It's the national bird of New Zealand. They run around, they're endangered. There's another Kiwi there. I forgot about the pavlova. It's in the oven. I hope it's not burnt. Oh, I hope it's not burnt, I hope it's not burnt. Ooh. That's okay, I didn't burn it. Oh, a bit of whipped cream. Probably wouldn't be putting blueberries on a Kiwi pavlova, but that's all right. Strawberries, raspberries, pavlova, the New Zealand dessert. I'm Matthew Peddie, and today on Intersection... So I'm a reporter and host for WMFE. It's the NPR affiliate in Orlando. What I do is I host a public affairs show called Intersection. We focus on current events, politics, the arts, sports, a bit of culture, some music as well. Essentially, my job revolves around figuring out what the big stories of the week are, and then figuring out who in the Central Florida area we want to talk to kind of bring those stories to life. I covered things like rugby matches, did some reporting on the All Blacks, which is the New Zealand national rugby team, cricket matches, and then I've also covered some serious breaking news stories that have been a bit uncomfortable. I was fortunate enough to fly to Antarctica as part of a reporting trip. This was the 50th anniversary of the New Zealand Antarctic base, Scott Base. We flew there on an American US Air Force military transport plane. We flew down there with the Prime Minister of New Zealand at the time, Helen Clark, and Sir Edmund Hillary, who was a very famous New Zealander. His face is on the $5 bill. He is one of the 2 people who made it to the top of Mount Everest for the first time. Just an incredible experience, from the history of the place to just the kind of bizarre beauty of the landscape. The great thing about Orlando is it's very diverse. As a journalist, as a person who is just kind of curious about people, it's a really fascinating place to live and work. I mean, like a lot of stories you wouldn't necessarily think about end up having some kind of connection to Florida.